Joe Manchin did a media tour where he's going to play the old folksy, "Oh, shucks, who me? I'm just a West Virginia Democrat." So in other words, he's trying to say, I'm one of the salt of the earth guys. I'm with the working people. I'm not with these Washington, D.C. Democrats who are so out of touch and not connected with regular folks. That's the argument he's going to try to make here. It makes my blood boil more than I can sufficiently describe to you because him and Kyrsten Sinema are the biggest problem in the Democratic Party. Not say the others aren't, but they're the worst of the worst. Let's watch and then I'll respond.
I'm not a Washington Democrat. I'm a good old West Virginia Democrat who likes all my West Virginia Republicans. And I know that I have to have their input for us to get good outcome for our West Virginia citizens who we represent. We have a lot of friends who aren't stereotype Washington Republicans. Okay, there are Alaska Republicans and there's all different Republicans who represent the state. Never forget where you came from. Never forget who you work for. Never forget your purpose of being here. And I've always said this, I want to make sure I take care of my country. I'm an American before I'm anything. I'm an American first. And I'm so proud of my country and the opportunities I've had. I also am here to do a job for the people of West Virginia. So they're my employers.
They are your employers. So let me show you this next chart. This was polling done by Data for Progress during the middle of the Build Back Better negotiations. A majority of West Virginia voters support the Build Back Better plan. This is the thing that Joe Manchin tanked. Support. 68% of West Virginia likely voters supported the legislation that included universal pre-K, elder care, expanded Medicare, lower prescription drug prices. Democrats, 90% of West Virginia Democrats supported it. Independents, 64% supported it. Republicans, 56% of Republicans supported Build Back Better. Because when you break it down into the individual pieces and policies, people were like, I like this, I need this. In West Virginia, they need it. It's one of the poorest states in the country. They're getting hosed by corporations and the elites. They're getting screwed. And Joe Manchin goes out there and cosplays as a regular person. He virtue signals, I'm a West Virginia Democrat. Never forget who put you in power. But you did! You did forget who put you in power. You're not a West Virginia Democrat. You know who a West Virginia Democrat is? Me. Joe Biden with Build Back Better was a West Virginia Democrat because the policies he pushed for were supported overwhelmingly by West Virginians. And by the way, the media is the worst because at no point did anybody say to Joe Manchin in all the appearances he's done, well, hold on now. You say you're a West Virginia Democrat. West Virginians are with Build Back Better and you're against it. None of them ever said that. None of them ever corrected him. So he gets to go out there and do his folksy thing. I'm a good old West Virginia Democrat. You know, unlike the D.C. Democrats, I like Republicans. You know what? I like Republicans too. And I want them to have health care and higher wages. You don't. You don't. We're the West Virginia Democrats. You are the corrupt Democrat. You are the elitist Democrat. You are the corporate Democrat. You are the epitome of the thing that you pretend to despise. He's just acting. He knows he's acting. It has to be disingenuous. We know it's disingenuous because he knew what the provisions of the bill were. He's pretending like he doesn't know or like the provisions were something that West Virginians didn't want. How does anybody sit there with a straight face and listen to this claptrap and not want to lash out in response? God, and he's such a good actor too, which makes it worse. He's such a good actor. He's out there with the fake sincerity. I'm in touch with the common man. It's these DC insiders who are not, these other Democrats. And unfortunately, if people don't know the specifics, they eat it up. They eat it up. But look, I got more for you. This is from More Perfect Union. They did another phenomenal video. Go watch the entire video because I'm only going to show you a piece of it here. But it gets into the specifics of why Joe Manchin is doing what he's doing. It's not ideological, and he's not looking out for the common folks. He's doing the bidding of his donors. Take a look.
Joe Manchin is a corporate Democrat. But what does that mean? We investigated his dealings with corporations over the past year. And it's more than just receiving corporate checks, though he gets a lot of those. Joe Manchin is more brazen and direct about the level of corporate corruption that he allows to influence him. Manchin executes policy decisions that corporations peddle to him, and nothing exemplifies that more than the way he's fought the Build Back Better bill for working families. For months, Manchin had a familiar refrain.
I've always said,
If I can't go home and explain it, I can't vote for it.
Left unstated is the question, explain it to whom? We found that time and time again, at critical junctures during the debate over Build Back Better, Manchin attended corporate events in West Virginia and stood with executives to declare his opposition to working-class legislation, all while setting personal records for corporate fundraising. This summer, just as Congress was about to reconvene and advance the bill, Manchin threw up a giant roadblock. Manchin sat with fellow Republican Senator Shelley Moore Capito at an event at the West Virginia Chamber of Commerce and made a startling announcement.
And I'm saying for the first time, and I've thought about this long and hard, whether I would say that today or not, but I think this is the right place. Hit the pause button.
Who is that applauding? Let's look at the membership of the West Virginia Chamber. Coal companies Dominion and First Energy, and Mylan, the pharmaceutical firm where Manchin's daughter was CEO.
I know they're going to go nuts right now in Washington.
Here they come.
Let's look at the stage one more time. This is Steve Roberts, president of the West Virginia Chamber. Who is this person asking the questions? Not a journalist. That's Suzanne Clark, head of the U.S. Chamber, America's largest corporate lobby.
How would you describe the U.S. Chamber of Commerce's relationship with Congress?
Strong.
Clark announced that the U.S. Chamber would pay for a months-long radio, billboard, and TV ad campaign to support Manchin.
Thank you for loving West Virginia and putting us first.
Thank you, Senator, for what you do for us.
Another conservative group, run by Mike Pence's chief of staff, Mark Short, spent $400,000 per week on ads bolstering Manchin's position.
Do you understand it now? Do you understand that his corruption dwarfs that of many of the other Democrats who are still corrupt and we still hate? Do you understand that? It's never been more clear. We have the facts and the figures and the numbers to back it up. The Intercept did a fantastic article titled Joe Manchin's Dirty Empire, where they get into the specifics of how he's making millions of dollars from dirty energy as he sits on the committee to determine what we're going to do about climate change. That's just one example of many. His daughter was directly involved in the price gouging scandal for Big Pharma, trying to rip people off to pad the bottom line for a pharmaceutical company. Joe Manchin was begged. There was a pharmaceutical company that was located in West Virginia. Joe Manchin was begged by these people because that company was going to get shut down and the jobs outsourced. Joe Manchin was begged by these West Virginians, who he claims to love and support, you got to help us. You got to do something. We got to keep these jobs here. He didn't do it. Why? Because he was with management of the pharma company, not the workers. Not the workers. The guy has sold out 1,000 times over, and he's allowed to go on these so-called news shows and propagandize everybody and pretend like he's a aw shucks, good old boy West Virginia Democrat who's just looking out for West Virginians when it is not true. Same thing with Kyrsten Sinema. What does she have? Like an 8% approval rating within the Democratic Party? And the media lets her get away with the lie that, look, she has to act this way. She has to, because it's ideological, so she's an honest actor and she's more conservative and she's just representing the Arizona voters. She is not. And Joe Manchin is not. For the love of God, make these people pariahs. Make them pariahs. Protest them. Call their office and express your displeasure. Let's primary him. Let's get him out of there. And I don't want to hear anything about, well, but what if that makes the Republicans win or something? Joe Manchin voted in the last legislative session 60% with Donald Trump. And the argument these people are making is, that's as good as we could do. What do you want? That's as good as we could do. As good as we could do is a Democrat who's basically half Republican. That's as good as we could do. Well, if the Democratic Party is only as good as its furthest right-wing Democrat, then just be honest about that. Be open and honest. And if you're being honest, okay, fair enough, then we can have the conversation and it's out in the open. But people try to play hide the ball. Oh, it's not possible. Oh, it's as good as we can get. And oh, he's not as bad as he actually in real life is. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. Any old blue just won't do. Certainly not Joe Manchin blue. Because he's turned his back on the people. That's Republican voters, Democratic voters, independent voters, and everything else. I know this is a rant I've given time and time again, but I'm fed up with it. I'm sick of it. I can't stomach it anymore. I can't take his folksy bullshit as he lies directly to your face and the media lets him get away with it. And unfortunately, this narrative about him, which is the correct narrative, will barely make a dent. It'll barely make a dent because the dominant media and power structures are invested in making him look like a hero and a maverick and a truth teller. And brave. There's nothing brave about denying people health care, denying people pre-K, denying people lower drug prices. There's something very corrupt about it. So anyway, spread this message far and wide, share this video, like the video, try to defeat the algorithm by any means necessary because people need to know the truth and they're certainly not getting it. Ever since Adpocalypse, when YouTube defunded all independent news and politics overnight, we haven't trusted them. We know they can pull the rug out from underneath us at any time. If you enjoy this content, please consider tipping $1 or $2 per month on the Secular Talk Patreon. Link in the video description box below. Thanks for your support.